Hello, welcome to the AP7 podcast. You are here with Rachel Donovan and the founder of AP7, Mr. George Helou.
Thanks, Rachel, and thank you for joining us. We love talking about how to get the heart into everything we do to get a lot out of life.
Whether it be relationships, business, careers, you name it. So, let's get started. So this podcast is about intuition. You love intuition, don't you, George?
I sure do, Rachel.
You do. You've had some pretty cool experiences.
Yeah, well, to me, our intuition gives us so much power. It allows us to anticipate and make better decisions. And yeah, like we marvel at sports stars for having great intuition. But yeah, I love it.
See, I don't think I've been very good in the past at listening to my own intuition. And even still, I think I'm getting better. But the number of times I say, I should have listened to my gut. Why didn't I listen to that feeling I had? And it's definitely something, especially after how much you talk about it and, how important it is that you've taught me, that I'm trying to get much more in touch with it.
Well, regardless of the countless experiences I've had with intuition and how much it's helped me, it's always a work in progress for all of us. And I have dedicated my life to always developing it. So whether I maintain brain training, whether I do some ancient disciplines like meditation, if I use exercise to put me into a trance state, like in AP7, we find ways to develop our intuition day to day. And yeah, it's definitely work in progress. And I think we owe it to ourselves to let a very fundamental ability of ours to be expressing in the way we relate to our environment. I mean, this idea that you can just feel your environment and sense what's happening and make better decisions, and that compounds into an optimized direction, so effective, so efficient. It gives you so much reward for little effort simply because you knew the truth of what was really happening and what you needed to do from moment to moment. I mean, gosh, it's a tragedy that we would discount that part of us that's so important.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how do we learn, though, you touched on it briefly there, but how to listen to it more or even hear it?
Yeah.
To begin with.
Yeah, well, when you were saying before, I would second guess and I'll go, damn, I should have listened to my intuition. Well, what the alternative of that was, you were analyzing a lot. You were in your head a lot, thinking. Okay. So if you think about, we're not being intuitive when we're trying to predict what's going on based on only what we've experienced in the past. So if we're analyzing, we're actually deciding that whatever's in front of us, we should be able to work out what's going to happen based only on our past experiences and what we've learned about how life is. The issue is that in any given moment, there are always variables that are playing out that are way beyond what you're factoring in your analysis. And this is why our analysis is very limited and does not yield the guidance and the decision-making that is of the quality standard we want and we're always expecting, but we rarely get. We end up frying the brain and getting frustrated with the overthinking. And how often do we project what we think is going on and then realize we were wrong? More times than not, right? Second guessing people's intentions, misinterpreting, and therefore overreacting or underreacting. And that's always a dilemma. So you're asking, how do we learn and how do we start becoming more intuitive?
Yeah.
Look, I think one of the first things is developing the credibility. And I spend a lot of time with clients, and there are videos in EP7 that immerse the person in the science of it being a tangible asset. Because if you can subject that brain to that and create some shocking realizations, that can shift you into a sense of intolerance, not to trust what you're feeling and allowing what you're sensing to guide you a little bit more, and for you to be patient in the process of what's really going on and what else there is to know beyond you thinking all the time. Mm-hmm. And once that credibility is laid like a good foundation, then from there, you want to start to know what the actual process is. And it's the same process. It's not some secret magical process locked away in the ancient scriptures that no one can find, but you have to pay thousands of dollars just to get a product from someone online to crack it. Those gimmicks always humor me. But the process is, if you can be clear about what your intentions are, then you're able to stop thinking, and you're able to just be so still, you literally surrender to everything that can come at you in information. Like, it's almost like turning yourself into a sponge. But it is a sponge with purpose, because that intent that you want to understand something, you want to be guided to make better decisions, that's there, but you're not thinking about how you need to go about it and what you need to do. You're not cluttering the brain so that it can't receive from its environment very easily. So lulling the brain down into a delta brainwave activity where the source of intuition comes from. So when you do that, anything that's repetitive, like running, ironing, washing dishes, walking, anything that's rhythmic, mowing the lawn, raking leaves, all the chores, all the exercises, anything that you do that doesn't need you to think anymore because it's second nature to you, that repetition can put you into a trance, and that actually can help you not only develop your intuition, but it can help you even at the time be intuitive. So I use it all the time. And for some reason, driving for me, I am so relaxed when I drive. I actually love driving, and I feel really safe and content. Like, I don't think I'm in the car now, or I better overthink what else is going on around me because it's dangerous to drive a car. For me, I feel safe and it's all cool. That's why I have a lot of intuitive experiences when I drive. And so I'll share, even on Saturday, I got in the car to go to my physio for the first time from my home, because earlier that week I went from work and it was 8:18. Mm-hmm. And before the sat nav showed me what the ETA was going to be, I knew 8:48. And anyone could argue that, well, George, you probably had a sense that it was probably roughly a half an hour trip. So, but the fact was, I didn't think about how long it was, from 8:18 to 8:48, how long that I wasn't thinking anything. All I thought was 8:48. So that was fine. So I started driving. But because this happened to me before, I kind of had a sense it was going to be true. And then I forgot to put the radar detector on. And yes, for everyone, I'm not breaking the law. In WA, it's legal.
Is it not legal in New South Wales?
No.
Oh.
No. Well, have you got one, Rachel?
No, I don't. I don't.
Yeah, don't bother. They don't take kindly over there. Here, to be honest, it keeps reminding you, beeps at you, keeps reminding you that, hey, there's lots of signals around. Are you speeding? And what it does is it actually literally slows you down. Mm. It actually keeps, because most of the beeps and the twats and whatever are actually sliding doors of petrol stations and stuff like that. And while mine is, I mute a lot, and it seems to be for some reason learning, like that's the assumption I'm getting. Gosh, we're digressing. But anyway, yeah, when it beeps, it seems to be more accurate.
Yeah.
But that's just my passion for radar detectors, saving you from getting fined.
Saving you money, I
guess.
get
Yeah, but the thing was, I drove about 28 minutes of the trip and I was in the last minute or two of getting there and I thought, oh, I've forgotten to put my radar on. And I put it on, turned it on, like positioned it and put it on. And I kid you not, 30 seconds later of driving, it went beep, 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 beep. And 10 seconds later, there was the radar, which was literally opposite the road where the physio was. And I had to drive further and turn around to get to it. But so I got there at 8:48 exactly. Now, the question is, yes, I could see the benefit of putting the radar on as an intuitive thing because I say to myself, maybe just going 7-8 Ks over the speed limit and then getting caught with $100 fine, that's pretty cool. But what was the benefit of 8:48, like getting there, knowing that before I got there? And look, I think to me, it's just back to what I was saying before. It's about when you set an intention of things that are important to you, information just starts to show up outside of distance and time to guide you, to help you anticipate. So for me, knowing 8:48, even before any ETA told me that, was just for me to know that I'm in my flow. I'm going to get there 12 minutes before I needed to be, blah, blah, blah. And also, by the way, they make great coffee, and I knew I wanted time to enjoy the coffee because I hadn't had one at home. So what I'm saying to you is all these little things that are important to you, like you're guiding the information to come to you so that you know that you're on track or you're not, right?
Yeah.
So have you had any weird experiences where you knew something before it happened?
I have. Yeah, this is so disappointing, but I can't think of anything that's really stuck with me though, like to retell the story.
Sure. What about someone that you hadn't heard for a long time and then you thought of them and then you saw them minutes later?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, or I hear from them or something like that.
Yeah,
that's
or they call you out of the blue.
Often, I mean, I'll think of someone and then my phone rings and it's them or something like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That happens to a lot of us.
And my friend sends me a message. I'm like, oh, God, I just thought of her. Yeah. So, actually, it happens at work sometimes. That's what happens at work. I'll be chatting to my boss and I'll be chatting about a client, about something about their job, and kid you not, like we haven't heard from them for a while. They've got to come back in for something, and within 2 minutes, they walk in the front door. It's happened more than once at work with my boss. It's really, really amazing.
So it's not a sad story anymore.
Yeah, you got the ball rolling for me and it worked.
We just needed a few triggers.
But do you remember when I was doing the EP7 course with you and you told me a really cool story about, it was many years ago, the petrol station?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was pretty trippy. I get into my car. This was at Bondi Junction when I was at Today FM, right? I get in the basement in my car and I'm about to turn the engine on and the odometer reading flashed 25 Ks into the future. It just changed in front of me to the point where I thought I saw a future kilometer reading, but then it went back to normal and I went, and it was weird and it was like an ambush and I was shocked. I go, what the hell is this? So I kind of was in shock and then suddenly 399 shows up as numbers, bigger numbers. And I went, whoa, what's the relationship between that future kilometre reading and 399? I go, well, I'm about to find out. You know, I'm on a trip home, so I'll find out. So as soon as I get to that 25 kilometre, as it switched on, I looked around, Shell service station, 39.9 gas. And I thought to myself, wow, like, how did that happen and how did it know? And I thought to myself, and what was the point of it? Like, so what? There's 39.9, 25 Ks an hour. So I kept driving going, well, maybe it's that whole idea that I have been doing a lot of intuition development exercises. Maybe this is just showing me that I'm starting to, you know, achieve things, even though they're trivial. But I remember telling you the story and you said to me, George, what if you were supposed to stop at the service station? Maybe there was someone you're supposed to meet. And I just looked at you and went, That's about 10 years too late, Rachel. It's like, that makes perfect sense. Why didn't I stop and walk in? I mean, like something that, how bizarre. And look, we probably did that 3-4 years ago, maybe even longer. And that was 10 years before that. So, yeah.
So that person is long gone.
That person is long gone.
I'm sure if you were supposed to meet them, they will have popped up somewhere down the track.
Maybe they had a bag of money and they're just itching to give it to the first person that walked into the service station.
But that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so I know that there's a lot of people who believe that intuition doesn't exist and it's all statistics and probability. But the thing is, I've had too many experiences where someone would think of something and tell me guess it, but they accidentally misconstrued what it was that we were doing. But I still picked up on the fact that, look, I'm trying to be abstract here, but I'll tell you very clearly. Like someone says, all right, they're going to send me 2 colors. And I pick up on the first color, but the second color, I don't see one color. I see 2 colors. And they're changing between green and blue. And it's backwards and forwards. The first color was red. And I got confused. I go, what's the relationship between green and blue? Is it yellow? Yellow and blue make green. Is this a weird encoded message they're sending me telepathically? But it turns out they mix blue and green together to be creative on the second color. I mean, who does that, Rachel? So, so for me, when people don't believe in intuition, and I've got countless experiences where it smashes probability, right? I just know it's real. And yet those people that don't believe in intuition love sport and pay big money to go to a stadium and watch someone demonstrate to them how to anticipate with many moving obstacles and defenders, how to maneuver and be in the right place at the right time to then do something freaky. They'll pay a lot of money to witness someone being intuitive while they don't actually exist. So for me, it's not an intangible thing. It's actually real, and we deserve to connect to it and develop it. And I'll give you a funny story of when I didn't believe in intuition, because I was raised with a few religions that made it dark magic or work of the devil or something like that. And so subconsciously I had an aversion to it, even though consciously I wasn't aware. So for me, just intuition was something I didn't understand and it didn't apply, right? So I'm playing school cricket and I'm bored because I'm sitting on the boundary and my mates are waiting to bat because we actually had a bye and we were playing each other. And so my mates were sitting waiting to bat while half of us were on the field, and no one was hitting any balls next to me at all for like 2 hours. Nothing was happening. So I was just talking to my mates who were waiting to bat. And literally I stopped. I had my back to the action and I'm just looking at my mates talking. And I realized that for a long time, I hadn't even been paying attention to the game. Bowl after bowl, not paying attention. So then the thought pops into my head that isn't it funny that I'm not paying attention to this game? And I say to the guys, hey guys, wouldn't it be funny if I decide after talking to you and not paying attention to the game, I decide to just turn around suddenly and I look up and the ball's going to be in the air and I'm enacting this while I'm explaining it to them. And as I'm looking in the air and telling them I would see a ball in the air, there was a ball in the air. And I'm saying I would catch it and then suddenly there was a ball in the air and I caught it and I caught him out. And I turned around in shock looking at them. How could I start a story before he even hit it? By the time I turned around and enacted out, he'd hit it. It came exactly to me after 2 hours or whatever. And then someone will say it's probability.
Yeah, but I know, but that story is just so incredible that it's almost like I don't believe you.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I do believe you, but
I
just
don't
like,
blame you.
So
And the thing is,
yeah.
I couldn't register intuition out of that. The only thing I could take out of that was it was a freak, bizarre situation that made me look very, very cool in front of my mates on so many levels, Rachel. Unfortunately, there were no girls to show off to. Bloody boys' school. Do you know how many girls I could have attracted with that maneuver if I was at a co-ed? Anyway, it doesn't matter now. I've moved on. But look, the whole idea of catching it is good enough, but then playing it out. So all I could take from it was I just got to look cool. That's it. And how many times do you think we're having freak situations that defy all probability and we're having to put it in it's a coincidence. It's a coincidence. It's a coincidence. And so we never build any statistical relationship with, well, the chances are you can't keep having that common, at that rate. But yeah, I like this. The stories that I share show that there are too many elements that aligned for it. So yes, theoretically, everything can be coincidence, including me guessing 2 colors on the second color. I could have just absolutely, just in a weird way, saw 2 colors instead of 1 and been indecisive, and they just so happened to be the ones that lady made up. But can you see, if we keep making excuses like that, we're being more fanatical for something that doesn't make sense than we are and that's the point, So, the message really is to everyone out there, this world is a better place when we're more intuitive. Because intuition enhances our ability to feel what's going on for each other. Be there for each other intuitively is to know what questions to ask, to know not to let the person who's putting on a brave face to get away with it, that maybe we need to ask them, are they okay? And we sense something's not right, so that they know they matter to us and we're picking up on something that they're doing their best to hide. And yes, we can argue that, people do. You can see it in their eyes, you can see it in their face. But often you can pick up on someone before you meet them that something's not quite right. Right? So we just need to be there. It enhances relationships. All your goals, you can't analyze your way there and it be worth it. You see, I have deconstructed several hundred people at their best in their flow. What that means is I will look at their thinking, feeling, and acting. I will thread it down to reveal a belief system. Now, the emotional state always includes connected. I feel in flow. I feel intuitive. It always includes those. And they have this sense of knowing what's going on, and they gravitate towards it, and they back themselves with what they're feeling. They trust their gut. In 700 people in their flow and more, much more, how could that many people be following the same process of trusting their gut? It's just, I've had the privilege of sitting in the detail of people who perform. And I'm lucky because I've been immersed in the credibility of that. So if that helps in any way, if you're listening to this message, you have to know, look around you. Every person that's ever interviewed for doing something extraordinary, they don't someone comes off the sporting field, they've done freak stuff that people go, how did you know? And actually, I'm tempted to give an example myself shortly. How did you know? And then they interview them and it's never, well, I was thinking about, should I go left or right? Should I pass it or shouldn't I? I was thinking about all my options and I was kind of not sure, but then you never hear that as their answer. They always say, look, to be honest, I just went with the instinct and it just happened. I'm very grateful it worked out. There's a humility, but you see, humility is interesting because it opens you up. Arrogance, it closes you, right? So humility is, I don't know all the answers, but I'm sure going to open up and allow them in, because there's always something much greater than the space I'm holding and the awareness that I'm holding. So I'm going to surrender into what more there is. These sports stars who are at their best in their flow are humble in that flow, in the zone, right? Well, I'll give you an example. As I was developing this, I was playing touch football in Glebe, right? Glebe. And it was Oztag, where you take the Velcro off, right? And I remember running with the ball and my support player was too close to me. And the defender didn't have to lunge far. He could reach me and reach the support player. And the other support player was too close as well. So it made it very difficult for me to know who I should pass it to, because they were so bunched up, they were making it easy for the other defender. So I decided, Rachel, I wouldn't decide. I decided that I was just going to let it happen and I wasn't going to think about it. And this was a conscious decision before I got there, that I would let instinct decide. So I'm running. I've got the ball in two hands ready, and I'm just waiting. And I let the ball go, and I never made a decision who it would go to consciously. The person I passed it to, it was so last minute that the defender had no time to make a decision. And who I passed it to was not the person he gambled on. And he went through and we scored a try. Now, that's interesting to be able to know what you're doing and then do it. I remember another time I was substituting here in Perth, touch football, and I had a feel for how they were playing, the opposition. And so I tell my fellow substitute who'd just come off and I was ready to get back on, I go, watch this. I'm going to score a try. This is how I'm going to do it. And he laughed at me. And just as I was running on, we got a penalty. I quickly ran, got the ball. I took the tap. I ran the angle that I knew I had to. I threw the biggest dummy with the right angle, left the big gap, and I scored the try straight away. I turned around, I looked at the sub, and he just shook his head. He couldn't believe that I just told him exactly what I was about to do. I go, watch him. They're just falling for dummies. Watch this. I'm just going to angle it so that when I pass, that guy's going to... I told him exactly what I was going to do. And then another time, I told the opposition player I was about to step him. I go, watch this step. I warned him I'm going to step in.
George, you're just like those in the movies when the guy's like tied up and he says, I'm going to get you and then I'm going to chop your head off and then I'm going to flip over and punch him out. And then this is what it reminds me of, those are James Bond or something when they...
But look, I don't have these moments all the time. But when they happen, they are reminded to me and I use them to build. It's just, come on, build conviction more and more. Because if we can arrive at a place where suddenly we're in the zone most of the time, what will our world look like? What will our life look like? What would we achieve if we're in flow most of the time? You see, the truth sets you free. In other words, if you're very intuitive and therefore you're in touch with what's really going on and you know what's coming, so therefore what decisions to make, then what are you supposed to do with that? Well, you make good decisions, but the fact is you're getting to exactly where you want in life. You're getting what you want. And for us, if we're all doing that, we're having the best relationships for each other because we really know where we're each other at, what we really want out of each other, and we're happy to give it to each other. And we know how to give it to each other because we're in that flow. And whenever you have a dream that's important, you want to make a difference in this world, you want to make a difference in your community, or you want to innovate something that would give people a great experience and it will be a good business idea, your intuition will make it a reality. Your intuition will guide you to know who to deal with, how to deal with them, who not to deal with, what not to invest in, You know who to use? The amount of decisions we make in a day, Rachel, if we can be in flow for that, it's exciting. And to keep building on every experience you have rather than letting it be water off a duck's back. You know, that's a tragedy. To just keep going, oh, coincidence. Oh, coincidence. It's like, why do we rob ourselves of starting to build a beautiful journey and developing that intuition? Am I doing a good job being a salesman for intuition?
You are, but that's a good thing. Yeah.
So if we were to give someone a takeaway, when you're driving or when you're on public transport, say you're on public transport, look out the window and let the repetition of the scenery going past you to lull you into a trance, and just hold yourself in a space of seeking to just let insights in that matter to you. I remember one of my clients, after he did Step 4 Intuition, he said, George, I played this game where I guessed the first person that would come on the train, what color their top would be. And he guessed the first one, the second one, the third one, and he was freaking out. The fourth one, he came up with an obscure color like peach. She came on with peach, this lady, right, Tom? Then he couldn't get the fourth or fifth. I can't remember whether it was the third or fourth, but he couldn't get the last one. He couldn't get it. And he got frustrated. And then when the train doors opened, no one got on. So anyway,
wow.
Anything that's repetitious, just soften your focus, stop thinking, and just let the rhythm. It's a meditative state, and you just get used to doing that and use all your chores as an opportunity to get into that trance state to develop your intuition. And even if you're driving, you get better as a driver if you get so ultra present, you're taking your environment in, suddenly your body is just knowing what to do, when to slow down, and it makes you a better driver just by not thinking and being one with your driving. That will develop your intuition as well.
You're getting me all excited to work on my intuition.
Awesome.
George, yes.
I want to hear what things started to happen.
I will.
Awesome.
I'm going to make note. Well, we hope you inspired you at home to work on your intuition as well. And if you would like to share any stories of intuition, please jump on the EP7 Facebook page. And we look forward to talking with you again very soon.
Thank you for joining us on another EP7 podcast. If you liked what you heard, remember to share and subscribe so you're notified of every podcast released. If you have any questions or would like to connect with us, please jump on the EP7 official Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you.